Welcome everyone. Today I will be talking about some tools and tips that defenders can use in their investigations. This will be kind of less technical talk, but my goal for this presentation to give you at least one takeaway that you or maybe your colleagues can use in their investigations. So let's begin. I'm Samuel. I have 6 years of experience in cybersecurity. And currently, I'm leading a team of 9 analysts in Ontinu, which is a global MDR provider. Let's jump into our agenda. We'll talk about OPSEC, go through some reputation engines and multiple set of tools, and then we will look into some automation and maybe scripting, how we can make our life easier, and then we will dive into some tips and tricks in how to do our OSINT and log transformation. At the end, we will also talk a little bit about some education resources and tips. So the first part, the boring one, let's talk a little bit about operational security. The bottom line kind of is that analysts, especially new analysts, should be trained on OPSEC because, let's face it, like uploading any files into public engines is kind of a big no-no for your corporation or organization that you are working in. You don't want to share your sensitive maybe files with the internet, or you just, on the other side, you don't want to tip off attackers by uploading maybe their new malware into like a virus total, for example. If your organization is targeted, they will be watching for this. And the same goes with maybe if you are investigating suspicious phishing links, those are often pre-filled with user emails, which oftentimes are encoded in base64. It's important to remove this part. And my tip is also to talk with your service desk management inside your organization and ask them basically if they are receiving maybe some requests or reports from your users on suspicious files or suspicious links. If that's the case, then it's kind of good practice to set up some procedures how the service desk can action on this. If you are working in an MSSP, it's probably your analysts are dealing with multiple customers, and if this is the case, it's very good practice to set up maybe some onboarding training or some guidelines for your new joiners on maybe how to take notes and how to work with clean templates with your customer data, because honestly, I see it in also different organizations that there are maybe cross-customer information sharing incidents, and we definitely want to avoid those. Not everyone is kind of so organized as we might think. If you are more mature SOC, I would recommend to establishing a separate, unfiltered, anonymous internet access with the IP that is not associated with your organization. This can be useful if you are conducting some sensitive investigations, or just maybe when your analyst wants to download maybe some exploit files for analysis or testing. You don't want like malicious traffic to go through your corporate network, or you don't want this action to be blocked on your firewalls. All right, so let's talk a little bit about VirusTotal. Probably everyone knows VirusTotal, but in my experience, there is a lot of people that are not aware about a lot of the core functionality. So it's not just the score that we can see at the top of the page, but there is also file size. If we are talking about analyzing files, maybe file size can sometimes give you a hint about the file. And on the right side of the file size, you also can see the last analysis date. This is important if you are dealing, especially if you are dealing with the files that are kind of borderline. Maybe the file is marked by 2, 3, 4 engines, such as malicious. And in that case, it's important to rerun the analysis to check if there is more, or sometimes there will be less engines detecting the file. Looking at the wall page, the first page, when you are checking the files in VirusTotal, I have two screenshots here, and basically I have opened the same file, but the difference is that on the right side, I'm actually signed in, and you can see how much more information I'm already getting just by using a free account. I can see all the signatures from IDS and the Sigma rules that were matched, and also I have a result from a sandbox right there. So moving to the second tab, the details tab, there are three, I would say, important sections. The first one is the history section, which contains all the dates. In my opinion, the most important one is the first submission date, which is actually telling us what is the, let's say, minimal age of that file since it was uploaded then. There is a creation time as well, but this one can be spoofed, so I would not rely on it all the time. The next section is the names. In this case, on the screenshot, you can see just one file.exe, but it happened to me multiple times that I was looking up some file in VirusTotal, and this section actually can give you a lot more context sometimes if there is multiple names, because attackers actually very much like to rename the tools that they are using, and the names of other uploads can tell you basically what is the original file. The signature info, nowadays we also see quite a lot of signed malware, but in case the signature is missing, I guess that's also providing some context. So moving to the relations tab, which contains the contacted URLs, domains, and IP addresses. Let me just zoom in on it a little bit. So here you can find very much important IOCs for your investigations. If you analyze a file and maybe then you want to do some follow-up hunting, this section contains oftentimes important IOCs like CNC IP addresses and so on. There's also the dropped files section at the bottom. Maybe sometimes you might see like ransomware nodes being dropped, so that's providing you some additional information. Please note also the icons on the right side. There are the copy-paste icons, so you can also easily copy this into your incident management tool or your notes. The last section on VirusTotal, the behavior tab, this one contains multiple analysis from sandboxes. If you want to dip a little bit deeper into the files, and it also, some of the sandboxes provides you a screenshot as well. All right, moving to CyberGordon. So CyberGordon is a personal project by Mark Henry Gee, and what you can do in CyberGordon is to upload up to 10 different observables, and CyberGordon will retrieve basically kind of reports from other threat analyzers if these observables were already analyzed. So CyberGordon is not actually analyzing anything, but it will retrieve the records from the other sites. I found it very much useful if you are dealing with multiple IOCs or observables, and that's it. For the IP lookups, besides VirusTotal, I like to use the three main ones: AbuseIPDB, Shodan, and Grey Noise. So briefly, AbuseIPDB is a website where you can find reports, basically when the IPs were reported in the past and maybe what was the reason for it. There are comments as well. Grey Noise, they are trying actually to map, let's say, or analyze internet traffic, and it's nice if you are looking up an IP. It can sometimes give you some kind of like a warning, like this IP is opportunistically scanning for this vulnerability. You can sometimes also identify like researchers and other benign activity, which is not actually targeting your organization. I mentioned Shodan as well, so if maybe you want to check open ports and running services, you probably already know Shodan. Looking into some analysis of URLs and phishing links, I have 3 tools that I like. First one is a URL scan, which will give you a screenshot of that website, but there is no interaction. And honestly, I like to always interact with these ones. And for the next one I want to talk about is a browser link, which will actually spin up a virtual machine for you. With a free account, it's for 60 seconds, you can interact with the website. Similarly, app.any.run is another analyzer that will spin up a virtual machine for you, and it also contains analyzers, so it's capturing network traffic, running processes, and other IOCs, but it's a little bit slower to spin this one up, but very useful. Just bear in mind what we talked about the OPSEC in the OPSEC section about uploading links. I also wanted to mention a tool, LookYLoo, from circle.lu, which is a web interface that captures a web page and then displays the tree of domains that call each other. And it also contains a screenshot, if you see the little square in the middle. Very briefly about email header analysis. You probably know MX Toolbox, but I highly recommend also trying mha.azurewebsites.net, which is, in my opinion, a little bit better. Also very briefly, if you are doing some kind of network traffic analysis, you probably are working in Wireshark and analyzing pickups. I just wanted to recommend, if this is something that you do often, it's very nice to customize your profile in Wireshark and edit your columns. I've included 2 resources. So the first one is a blog from Brett Duncan, malwaretrafficanalysis.net, and he has a tutorial on this, and also Chris Greer's YouTube channel, which also contains Wireshark tutorials. All right, let's talk a little bit about event log analysis. If you are a SOC analyst or maybe security analyst, you probably have an EDR in your organization, and oftentimes EDR has a capability to download a log file or a collection of logs from a system. It could be like some kind of log package, and this usually contains event logs as well, but it's not super easy to analyze them. But there is a tool called Chainsaw, which is a little bit more on the forensic side of the things. But I used it multiple times also when I was analyzing incidents. It can parse the event logs very, very nicely. And also it has analyzers. You can basically run a Sigma detections on the event log collection. It has a other functionality like shim cache analysis, and there was also very recent updates to Chainsaw this month. I didn't look into it yet, but more on the forensic side, as I said. So let's talk a little bit about some automation and some scripting. If the investigation of incidents is your kind of daily bread, I have some frameworks for you that I highly recommend using. So the first one is AutoHotkey, which is an open source scripting language for Windows, and you can basically make customized scripts and shortcuts. It has a lot of functionality, but the 2 main ones that I want to talk about today is hotstrings and hotkeys. So what are hotstrings? Hotstrings are basically abbreviations that will auto-expand as you type them. It's sort of auto-replace. So here I have a couple of examples. The first one is just example, as this is actually the code from the script. So this is how you declare the abbreviations, and you can see basically by typing BTW, it will expand into, by the way, that's just an example, but the next 3 is something that I actually used in the past. So I like my abbreviations to be 2 or 3 letters. So as you can see here, I have a hashtag @, which will expand into my email address, hashtag HO, like a home, which will expand into my former street address, which contained a lot of special characters that I was not able to type on my English keyboard. And maybe you have some kind of phrase, like a false positive confirmed with the user that you are often using. So you can create abbreviation like #FP. It is very useful also if you are using some kind of template in your work or maybe in your investigations. So you can also declare a template. So I have a shortcut #TT, which will expand into basically this kind of template that I will be filling out during my investigation. So I have a short GIF. Sorry for the quality, but here at least you can see how it looks like when my AutoHotkey script is enabled. I just type in the abbreviation and it will auto-expand. So before we also talked about some reputation engines, and I want to talk about the hotkeys, which is another functionality of AutoHotkey. So hotkeys are basically actions or triggers that enable action, usually running some kind of program or a macro. So on the first line, I have an example of a one-liner, which is basically opening my notes.txt in my default text editor by pressing Shift-N. So the plus is actually a shift, and by pressing Shift-N, I open my notes. The second one is a kind of keyboard macro, which is triggered by Ctrl-H, and it will take a hash that I copied in my clipboard, and it will open it in VirusTotal. All right, so here I'm using a different macro where I'm copying IP address into my clipboard, and by pressing a Ctrl-G, I will open the IP address in 5 different reputation engines in my browser. So very quickly I can spin up all the engines that I'm interested in into checking what's the IP reputation. So this is how the script looks like. So this is for AutoHotkey version 1, and I have also, they released a version 2 this year, so it has a little bit different syntax. I think all the slides will be available, so you can also then reach out to me. I'm happy to provide them. Similar to AutoHotkey, there is a framework or tool called PowerToys Run, which is a quick launcher for Windows, and it supports custom plugins. And I wanted to give a shout out to Mitchell Smith, who created a plugin that is doing a very kind of similar functionality to what I just showed you with the IP or hash lookups. So this is just another way how to do it. If you are working on Mac, you just probably can also write a quick Python script for this, but I highly recommend making something like this for you if you are doing investigation on day-to-day. Another kind of, I would say, powerful tool in being effective is a clipboard history. So I recommend enabling your clipboard history on your Windows machine. You can just do it from settings. And on Mac, I think you need some kind of clipboard manager. For example, the Copyless tool is a good one that I used in the past. And basically, as an analyst, you probably copy a lot of things over and having the clipboard history. So on the Windows, you can enable it by just pressing Windows key plus V, and that will open the history, as you can see on the right side. So let's talk a little bit about OSINT. You probably heard about the term Google Dorking or Google Dorks. It's just basically some specific searches that you can execute in Google. So the first one is an example of, I have a ZUSI and IOCs. So ZUSI is a thread name and string IOCs. Both of these are double quoted with an end in between. So this means this would just give you all the results that only contain both of these strings on Google. And the next example is kind of, I would say, my favorite one, like a golden nugget that I use when I'm analyzing processes and process command lines in the EDR. And in my experience, oftentimes I'm not sure what the process is actually doing. What is it used for? Is it actually attacker trying to do something? And basically, this Google Dork, this string will only search the term that I taken from the command line in the MITRE and the DFIR report, which are great resources for attacker techniques and tactics. So in this example, I was checking the Xcopy one, and I only got 7 results from these 2 sites, MITRE and the DFIR report blocks, and which is actually exactly what I wanted to look for. So basically, was this used in the past? Is it documented somewhere from like a forensic report or something similar? All right, I also briefly wanted to touch on Have I Been Pwned, which is a site where you can upload user emails if you're investigating compromised accounts, and it can tell you if this account was part of some breach in the past. And ChatGPT, well, I found it useful if you want to, for example, if you are not 100% aware about how the attack, some kind of alert or incident works from attacker's perspective, it can give you quick and nice overview. So let's talk a little bit about log transformation. It's I would recommend to really know basics of regex, and if you're working on a Unix machine, grep, sort, unique, these 3 are very nice to be kind of fluent with, I would say. You can also do the similar thing in CyberChef, which would, I would say, deserves a separate session because there is so much in CyberChef that you can do. If you are working on investigations and you don't know about CyberChef, I highly recommend to checking out some tutorials. I've just listed some functionalities that I use very often, like decoding base64, defanging IOCs, doing sorting and deduplication, also find replace and extracting IOCs from the logs. I've mentioned the 2 resources. So the first one is a GitHub repository by Matt Nomax, and it contains a very kind of big repository of CyberChef recipes, and the recipes are actually when you merge multiple functions of CyberChef together. And the next reference is from Matthew Brennan from Huntress. It's quite recent, I think, from this year. And he did some good malware analysis on Asyngrad, and he used a lot of CyberChef functionality, and I highly recommend checking this one out. Cool. A little bit more about like log transformation. I want to talk about a Visual Studio Code, which I found has a very nice functionality with adding multi-cursors. So adding a cursor to line ends and selecting all occurrences. And I use it very often when I'm manipulating some logs or some IOCs. So in this example, sorry for the quality, but you can see this is like a couple of hashes, and I needed to basically edit the logs so I can use them in my SIEM. So I just basically needed to add a double quotes and a comma to all the lines. And here I'm marking all the hashes and adding the cursor to all the line ends. And here I can very simply do this operation in Visual Studio Code. The next one is selecting all occurrences. So in the middle there is a word description that is basically same for all the lines, and what Visual Studio can offer me is to mark all these occurrences, all the same occurrences of this word, and add the cursor to all the lines there, and basically do my editing from the middle of the line very easily. All right, a little bit about education. I have some sources that you, if you are maybe junior analyst or you are someone who are looking into going into incident response, I highly recommend reading the DFIR report blogs and checking out the adsecurity.org, which contains basically attack scenarios used in Active Directory. I also wanted to mention backdoors and breaches. There was actually a workshop yesterday, so if you didn't attend, I wanted to talk a little bit about it, because backdoors and breaches is actually a card game. You can get a physical copy, but also there is a free online site where you can play the game. So there is a game master which creates a scenario which is from the top 4 cards. Those are basically techniques and tactics of the attacker. These cards are hidden for all the other players, and the other players are using the blue cards and basically are trying to reveal the attack kind of life cycle. We found it quite nice for kind of sparkling the conversations in your team. It's kind of a team building also, I would say, and yeah, highly recommend checking it out. If you didn't attend the workshop, I've included a link to video from Black Hills Information Security, which describes how the game is kind of going from start to end. And yeah, that's it, basically. If you have some other tools or tips you found useful, please reach out to me. I'm super happy to include it in future iterations of the presentation. And I wanted to thank VSites for this opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the great talk, Samuel. Are there any questions? Okay, then I will start with my question. What is the favorite tip you have provided for today? Which one saved you the most time?
I wouldn't say it saved me the most time, but the one I like the most is the Google Dork, which is looking for. I use it for analyzing processes, to process command lines, and searching in Mitre and the FIR report sites only.
Thank you for the presentation. It was really nice. At the beginning, you were mentioning about providing training, and one example you gave is to not upload files like to third parties like VirusTotal and stuff. But we know how useful such analyses are. So if you are evaluate a mail, you're suspicious about a PDF or something, you want to analyze that, but you don't want to upload that. What's your strategy, or what do you do?
Yeah, I think it's very much depends on your company, on your employer, and for the, I would say, like compliance reasons, you should follow those. And if you are dealing with something that is like a suspicious files in internal environment, you should not upload it. If it's something coming from external sources, then I would say that's a different story.
Okay, thank you very much again. I saw a lot of people writing down notes and everything, so thank you very much for the good content. And in case of any questions, Samuel will also be available in the lobby. So thank you very much. And now we have a half an hour break, and see you soon.